Hi there, this is an example of a testicular lymphoma. So on low power, and this is the testicular parenchyma completely replaced by sheets of blue cells, which has replaced most of the testicular architecture, but you can see some residual pinkish tubular structures here which represent the seminiferous tubules. As we scroll around, we can see that there is no distinct architecture to the infiltrate, but rather it's just diffusely infiltrating the entire testicular parenchyma, and they go in between the residual seminiferous tubules, with obviously some destruction of the seminiferous tubules of the testis. So zooming in on higher power, you can appreciate that these tumor cells are disc adhesive, so you can see the tumor cells are rather separate from one another. There is some degree of pleomorphism where you can appreciate also there's some cells with these large nuclei and others are slightly smaller, and some of these larger ones contain nucleolus, maybe one or maybe several membrane-bound nucleoli as well. You'll see that the cytoplasm is rather scant and indistinct for the most part. There are plenty apoptotic bodies characterized by these dark pyknotic nuclei. And a little clue when you see a lot of apoptotic bodies, it usually indicates that the tumor is of higher grade, therefore there is a lot of cell death seen in this tumor. That's probably a mitosis there, and you can see here many apoptotic bodies. And this is another field to illustrate the degree of pleomorphism and the nuclear characteristics of these tumors. So vesicular nuclei, prominent or clumped chromatin, prominent nucleoli. Even as we move along, we can see that there isn't any particular architecture in here. There is no glandular formation, there is no separating fibrous septa with lymphocytes, there is no obvious epithelial elements present. So it's really just sheets and sheets of atypical cells. So here's another field. You can see a mitosis there, and in this field you can appreciate the nuclear features a little bit better. Chromatin, vesicular chromatin, prominent nucleoli, okay, and like this one has maybe about 3 membrane-bound nucleoli, same as this one. So it's really a lot of these cells are showing centroblastic morphology. So here is a cluster of residual seminiferous tubules. Tumor cells have infiltrated in between the seminiferous tubules, and the tubules themselves have a rather sclerotic appearance. The tumor cells have infiltrated the seminiferous tubules as well. So these are all the malignant tumor cells have gone into the wall of the seminiferous tubules, and in fact perhaps have taken over the inside of the tubules as well. Testicular lymphoma may be primary to the testis, or they could be secondary involvement by a systemic lymphoma. More often than not, or at least in most cases, this will be a diffuse large cell B-cell lymphoma, such as in this case. But immunohistochemistry will be prudent in terms of subtyping the lymphoma. It is more common in the elderly population, in elderly males, maybe above 60 years onwards, as compared to your more common germ cell tumors, which are often seen in younger adults in the 3rd and the 4th decades of life. Important characteristics that can help you in distinguishing a lymphoma from certain germ cell tumors include whether or not there is presence of fibrous septa with lymphocytic infiltrate, which is characteristic of seminoma. Another possible pitfall is probably considering embryonal carcinoma, especially the solid type. And an additional note of caution on that point is that embryonal carcinomas are usually positive for CD30, and certain the B-cell lymphomas, anaplastic lymphomas, they can be positive for CD30 as well. So it is not wise to rely 100% on a single immunohistochemistry like CD30. So always do a panel of immunohistochemistry if you need to do it. So for lymphomas, you expect that these cells will be positive for CD45, and depending on the actual subtyping, then you'll see a different pattern of positivity accordingly.